It's the Go-To Sports podcast presented by Go-To Sports with your hosts Aidan Lavin and Matt Dobrez. And today we have our first go-to guest. Chris Bellando is joining us. Chris will be at Syracuse in this upcoming spring, March.
Summer sessions. Summer sessions. That's when the BDJ program starts. So
Beautiful.
that's my claim to fame right now.
There you go. Chris has been doing a lot of work for us for the WBC, which is what we're going to be talking about mainly on this episode. We appreciate you guys all tuning in, and we're very excited to have a lot of baseball going on. We've been baseball heavy on Go-To Sports lately, which is not a problem at all. And for the WBC to be right around the corner, we thought it was a good time to start talking about the WBC. And we've already done a bunch of previews. Chris has done a bunch of previews about each of the different teams. So he's got a wealth of knowledge within the WBC. He's, I think, our go-to guy for the WBC. So Matt, Chris, thanks for coming on. And I'm ready to get started.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Let's shoot, yeah.
All right, awesome. So I think the first question I want to propose is about the United States, just because, we're in America. It's pretty cool. I think I was talking about this to, I think, my parents. They went from Olympic gold medal in basketball, and now you have both hockey teams winning Olympic gold, and then to go now straight into the WBC, where America, I think, is the odds-on favorite to win the tournament.
Yeah, they are.
It makes for a sick documentary at some point, just like America, whatever, America being number one, America winning in a bunch of different sports and on a bunch of different stages. With all that being said, what impresses you the most about the American lineup and roster?
I'll go first, Aidan. I think this is certainly the deepest United States team we've seen in a WBC so far. Getting Aaron Judge to captain this side is such a big deal, to have the best American player playing in Major League Baseball on this national side and captaining it, as I said. He's going to bring just so much power, so much everything that you could have in a batter's box, and just on the field, off the field. Aaron Judge, for me, if I had to pick one player, is the biggest deal. And I know that's not too controversial to say, but it's just such a big deal for the United States in particular, because we've seen in years past, especially with pitching, but even with some of the position core, just, not getting the best talent available and just seeing guys rather stay at spring training and get their reps in for the regular season. But seeing Aaron Judge among this group is such a big deal.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think the biggest surprise is just some of the star power pitchers that are actually committed to it this year. It's always the talk of pitchers don't want to get ready earlier than they need to, whatever else their case may be.
Yep.
But like you have Paul Skeens on the team, Tarek Skubal at least making one start, and then you just have plenty of veterans, that have been around the league, know what they're doing. You have a guy like Kershaw who's going to bring all that experience he has.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you're probably not counting on him to deliver much on the field, but some of that off the field leadership stuff.
Yep.
Then you have some younger guys as well. I think they have a super deep rotation and probably the deepest they've ever been there.
Oh yeah, it is crazy. I am. It's going to be great just to be able to watch all of those guys on the same team. Obviously, they're competing against each other within the season. And with that being said, I guess I'm curious how you guys think that the playing in the WBC obviously is more of a ramp up than people would have in spring training. How do you think that will affect different players who have a full 162 to play after participating in the WBC?
It's always a question, especially for the pitchers. See, there's a reason why spring training is 6 weeks. These guys have to ramp up to play a marathon of a season, 162 games. And to put a guy like Paul Skeens, Tara Skubal, Logan Webb, the three frontline starters, get them ramped up even earlier to get into these big games during the beginning of March into the middle of March, it's totally a big deal for these guys and their health. But again, this is international baseball at its best. This is the top competition.
Yeah,
100%.
I wonder if we'll see like maybe a little fatigue towards the end for some of these pitchers of the regular season.
Yep.
But I mean, at the end of the day, even if they're only throwing, maybe 4 innings in a game, 5 innings, whatever it may be, they're still gonna have to get that work in spring training.
True.
So to some extent, it still lines up. Obviously, this is a more competitive environment. Spring training, you're just out there. Who cares? Let me get my pitches in. Let me get my up and downs, whatever the case may be. But like even just watching some Mets spring training so far, like Soto's out there playing multiple games already. He's
Yep.
not a guy that's typically played early in spring training. He's getting ready. Like the position players too, getting in some of these early spring training games, getting those extra live at bats. I think it just everyone just a little focused a little bit earlier. But at the end of the day, you're gonna want to play for your country, and it's a cool opportunity that not everyone gets. So I
For
think
sure.
everyone's willing to make that sort of sacrifice.
100%. We were actually talking about this on one of our other podcasts that we have on the Go-To platform. Um, One of the players that was brought up specifically was Julio Rodriguez, who is known to have very slow starts. And it was just interesting to kind of think about, hey, if he's playing in this super ultra competitive tournament at the beginning of the season, maybe he's a guy who can benefit from it more than others because he obviously, I think he's even embraced the slow start and kind of just getting hot at the end. So for him to put together a full 162 with his full potential would be incredible to watch. Even, I mean, now with the emergence of Cal as the second or second place MVP and former Platinum Glove catcher, him and Cal together at their peak powers for Seattle, who I think is projected to be at the top of the American League. That would be incredible to see. I think going back to what was mentioned earlier about the different intensity, what are the different things about the WBC that differ from either the MLB playoffs or just even a regular MLB game in terms of the atmosphere, player intensity, and overall how the tournament is run?
Well, we can start with the atmosphere. If you go and watch back those games from 23 in Taiwan, you got to see a whole window of baseball that if you just follow Major League Baseball, if you're an American, you only follow Major League Baseball,
Hmm.
you saw those coordinated crowd chants. You saw everybody going crazy for every pitch, every at bat, all 9 innings. That environment at Taichung was crazy. And you go back stateside, you see the environment in Miami with all the Caribbean teams playing.
Yep.
There's plenty of passion, not just from the players, but the fans as well. They have so much into it. They pour so much energy into it, and want to talk about passion? That's what that is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Seeing the both fans and players, like the players are all on the top step. They're even most of the time out of the dugout, it seems, especially for more of the Hispanic teams. And there's a real sense of pride. It is very cool to see what the WBC is able to do for not only baseball, but just individual country pride as well, and bringing people together, not only in America, but just globally. Bringing people together, I think, is incredible. The Miami subject is funny because I don't understand what the Marlins do, given the potential that they have as a baseball stadium and atmosphere, what it could be, and for them to just continue to be non-competitive pretty much every year is a shame, but that's for another day. Um, and Matt, you can attest to that as a Mets fan. I'm sure you have
Definitely,
benefited heavily from that.
definitely.
um, I think we can get a little bit more into the MLB WBC crossover. What about the general marketing of the tournament has been good and what has been bad? Because frankly, there's not a ton of coverage that I've seen of the WBC from at least the MLB, and it's not their job. Um, but I think a lot of it comes out super early, and then it's not really timely because there's still so much time between when the rosters are announced and when the WBC actually occurs.
I mean that roster, the roster show that they put out on MLB Network was great, but how many weeks ago was that?
Right.
We got games in 2 weeks. I was gassed up to watch some baseball right after all those 20 teams were rolled out, and then you're telling me I gotta wait? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be waiting that long for rosters in general, but if we're gonna make it a whole production, make sure we're gassing me up and we're being able to go right into it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess with the show and releasing the rosters, the tough thing is, I guess all players would know, but if you need an explanation to fans or something as to why they're going to be missing spring training games,
Yeah.
if you're going flying down to Florida or going to Arizona to like go watch a game, spring training, like obviously you
Mhm.
can't expect everyone to play.
Yeah.
Maybe part of that is just it's beneficial to teams like, the Mets, they're not going to have Juan Soto, they're not going to have Francisco Lindor, like your top guys aren't going to be there. Judge isn't going to be there for the Yankees. Like the more casual fan, might be annoyed not seeing their favorite
Yeah.
players like
I
at spring
suppose.
training. But yeah, it is tough having to wait so long. Like especially with the Olympics and everything going on with hockey right now. It seems like all the NHL teams, are making a very clear like proud of their guys and everything. You don't really see a ton of that from the MLB teams, and maybe that'll change once the games start and highlights come out. But yeah, leading up to it, they're really not promoting much. I haven't seen much at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, I agree. The ramp up period was, I think, mismanaged because it just doesn't, to me, make like you could have had it just do the show this week. I think probably they wanted to make sure that it was out of the way before spring training started. But again, like you're getting people to a peak excitement and you're revealing all these players, and then 3 weeks go by and they kind of forget about it. Like they're more interested in spring training starting, which I mean, spring training is great, and I was excited for spring training to start as a baseball fan, but I'd be more interested in the WBC teams coming out around this time, given that at this point, we're recording on Tuesday, it's in about 10 or 11 days. Um, so, yeah, I'm definitely with you guys on that. I think it'll be that is a good point about the like social media accounts, Matt, and how the NHL is posting about all their players. I don't think any of the teams have done that do they have to, given that they're just announcing a roster? No, but it will be interesting to see if they put up highlights. I don't really know what they've done in years past, but that definitely is interesting and an interesting point.
Yeah, I mean, even something just as simple as, at least for your MLB guys, make a graphic of all of them in their country uniforms, like
Right.
root our guys on. It's obviously
Yeah.
tougher if you got like
Yeah.
some random prospects going to play for, a worse team.
Yep.
Maybe you don't have those as easily accessible of a picture, but minor leaguers still probably get their pictures taken, just quick Photoshop, put them in their country. Like obviously the teams know.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty easy to get it to like the social media people.
Yep.
Just put something out, root for our guys, be ready to watch them. Because at the end of the day, you're obviously going to root for your country. Like you're going to want to see guys on your team in the minor leagues of your teams that you like. You're going to want to
Yep.
see them succeed. Because I mean,
I expect I, I expect a lot more ramp up from the clubs once their guys are in the games and doing stuff on the field. Once the WBC starts.
Hope so.
But yeah, no, I'm excited to see guys like Bazana, number one
Yeah.
pick a couple of years ago, get on the field for his country for the first time. Actually, not for the first time at the senior level, first time at the WBC though. So, just one example of a guy who could get really gassed up by this tournament and get a lot of promotion from his club.
Yep, he hit a home run today for the Guardians, and the announcer was talking about like He's had injury issues with his oblique, I think. But yeah, that was one of the names that I saw, and I was like, oh, he's playing in the WBC because haven't heard a ton about him. Obviously, this is not entirely related, but Rock Chowalski from UCLA, that guy is on fire, and you see stuff about him all the time. So there are prospects that just you, and even Skeens in recent memory, he was someone who you saw him pretty much every start that he made, and maybe it's different for pitchers and hitters who aren't appearing every single day. But for Bazan, I haven't heard a ton from him since he got drafted, and he was supposed to be like a legit dude. So him being able to showcase his talent on a premier stage will be super, super interesting. On that note, do you have other lesser known players that can have huge impacts for their team?
If I had to pick one guy, I got one guy in my head right now after finishing the Taiwan preview last night.
Sure.
Roshi Shu is really exciting for me. I got to see him play during the qualifier last year to get Taiwan to the main round, and he's got a super legit arsenal. He's got a great fastball, solid off speed, solid breaking stuff. I think especially with some of the Asian teams in general,
Hmm.
you could see a lot of pitchers, a lot more finesse pitchers versus the power that you see uh, in MLB. But a lot of those Taiwan guys, they got a shot. If I had to pick one team to be a dark horse, get out, and maybe even win a game in the bracket, it might be Taiwan
Hmm.
to take down even someone like the DR Venezuela. In a one game playoff, anything could happen.
Wow, that's
Some-
that's exciting. I think Venezuela is one of the teams who maybe is. I mean, obviously you have the United States and Japan. What would be the second tier in terms of the biggest competitors?
If we're talking about tiers, I think in my top tier it's USA, Japan, and DR.
Okay.
Then
Per
you
the
go to B tier, then we go to B tier, then we go to a second tier down.
Yep.
I'd say Venezuela, Canada, Puerto Rico. I wish I could put Puerto Rico on A, but this is one of the weaker teams that I've seen in the WBC in a while just because of the insurance stuff. And we want to go back to MLB marketing. That's a disaster. Not having it, Francisco Lindor got hurt after the fact, but the fact that Francisco Lindor, Javi Baez, and Carlos Correa were not insured, it was just Baez and Lindor. The fact that those two were not insured to play in international play, you got to give me a break with that. We could talk about pitchers getting hurt and that being an issue, with them having to ramp up and stuff. But position players, they could get hurt. Anybody can get hurt in spring training. Position players, especially, I don't see an issue with them going to the classic, trying to play their ass off.
Yeah, I don't know who's entirely in charge of all that insurance stuff, but I know like the Mets president was saying that's not on, like that wasn't their call to not have Lindor play. So I don't know if that's like the Players Association or like the league itself, but it is weird how like some of these guys just can't get insurance. I don't fully understand it, if I'm gonna be honest.
I
But like
don't, I don't either.
The Mets president came out and said like that wasn't them saying Lindor can't play. Obviously, he did get hurt and can't play anyway, but it is like a weird thing. Like if a guy wants to go play, you'd think he should be able to go play,
Matt,
especially a
the
position
best
player.
example of that is Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be out there for Venezuela in a couple weeks. He's coming off an ACL tear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's any star you'd think wouldn't be insured, wouldn't be able to play in this event, it's someone like Acuna. But the minute he was asked, "You want to come play for Venezuela?" he said, "Yes, let me play. I want to put that uniform on and represent my country."
Yeah.
So
Maybe
it's something I don't fully it's something that none of us fully understand.
It's
And
above our
you
pay
know,
grade.
maybe one guess towards it is just their total like contract or like average annual salary, whatever it could be. Like Acuna is on a more team friendly deal.
Yeah.
Like a Lindor is making 34, Correa is definitely making a lot, Baez upwards of 20. Like Acuna is on a more team friendly deal, so maybe it's easier to get an insurance for a smaller contract, but I have truly no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So Venezuela, you have in the B tier.
I have Venezuela a little below my
Oh,
top three just
okay.
because I think the pitching depth is a little less than between the United States, uh, DR, and Japan.
Yep.
As far I'm trying to think because Venezuela had an insurance issue too. Jose Alvarado won't be there. And
Hmm.
that was he was going to be a big deal for them. That was going to be their lefty ace out of the pen. Now that's just completely gone. It's just another example of this tournament being mismanaged.
Like as for like the betting odds, it goes USA is the favorite at -115. Then we got Japan at +330, the Dominican Republic at +400. Then there's the gap of Venezuela at +900, Puerto Rico at +1600, Mexico at +2500, and then Canada at +4000.
Hmm.
And then they kind of just skyrocket from there. Like clearly there is, a couple favorite teams,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
100%. But I think it's still like for the lesser known teams, it still is an achievement for them to get to the quarterfinal and get out of pool play. Like for them, that's pretty much winning the WBC, which is super cool. Um, there's a few teams that I can think of off the top of my head, but given that this is, featuring you and you're the prominent guest here, Chris, do you have any other sleeper teams, so to speak? I think Canada could be one of them, but are there other teams that you think outside of the top, let's say five, that can make some noise within this WBC?
You mentioned Canada. I'd love to talk about that team.
Sure.
That's a really deep lineup, especially compared to some of the teams in the past they've run out. You've got Tyler O'Neill, Denzel Clark, Owen Casey in the outfield. That's a pretty solid trio, both defensively
Yeah.
and in the box. Uh, Otto Lopez is a solid defender at short. Got to give you an average bat. He'll give you a decent at bat. Edouard Julien played really well in the 23 WBC, and he's got potential with that bat. Josh Naylor is going to lead that team
Yep.
in every way offensively. That's a really good get at first base. He wasn't able to play in the last WBC, so this should be really exciting for him. Hopefully, he is a WBC riser. Be great to see Josh Naylor just tear the game up.
Yeah.
You got his brother Bo behind the plate, and a solid rotation. Jamison Tyone and Michael Soroka are no one to sneeze at.
Yeah. No, 100%. I agree with that. They're in pool B or A.
They're in Pool A in San Juan.
Okay. So they have
Puerto
their
Rico.
competition, Italy, I think, is involved, right?
Pool
It's
off the top of my head, Pool A is Canada, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Cuba, and who else?
Panama's the fifth.
Panama's the 15th.
Gotcha.
That pool's gonna be a bloodbath. Anything. If I was gonna pick one pool that anything could happen, it's that.
Hmm.
That pool has the potential to just be absolutely anywhere. Anyone could win. Anyone could come out of that pool, in my opinion.
Interesting.
Canada does have the second best odds to win it.
The
So
that pool.
that pool.
Okay.
So certainly
Who's
have a chance.
first?
Puerto Rico's favored.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Big home field advantage.
Yeah, that's a good point. And because Puerto Rico, I mean, obviously they do have that, but with the insurance issues as we had touched on, it's a little bit more wide open as opposed to the pool where the United States is in, and that's kind of a given. Japan is in, that's a given. Um, I am interested to hear what you think about this because I obviously have been taking part in these previews as well. It seems as though the WBC has done a good job of kind of creating potential matchups that can be like the last game of pool play for different teams, but that game can potentially impact whether or not that they make the quarterfinal or they get out of pool play. It's like winner takes all. I think from the some of the games that I've seen. I think the Canada and Cuba game was one of them, and maybe I think there were two others, but I don't remember off the top of my head what those games were. But I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
I mean, off the top of my head, I know that Pool A will end with Puerto Rico against Canada.
Okay.
So should be the talent wise, that's the top two teams in the pool, and
Yep.
that could really flip anything. Um, the pool in Taichung in 23, that was a tie the entire way. Every team went 2-2, and
Yes.
the tiebreaker was off of that runs per out. It was a yeah, crazy tiebreaker, kind of like it's not even like point differential or run differential. That
Yeah.
was it was that's something you don't ever see. It's something you don't ever think about. But
No.
short form tournament play brings out a lot of crazy stuff. So if I was gonna pick a chaos pool, pool A all the way.
I like it. I'm trying to look at the other. I think there were a few different games. I'm not entirely sure which they were, but um, yeah, I mean, Pool A is definitely loaded. Oh, Italy, Mexico, I think was, yes, Italy, Mexico on the last day at 7 was a game where, I mean, Italy's team has gotten a lot better, and Mexico is always very legit. I honestly think that Italy's pitching may be a little bit better than Mexico's. Um, but we'll see what happens there. And I think again, like there's a lot of different matchups that the WBC did well in terms of the timing and what the impact of those games will be. They got a lot of the not so great games I think out of the way beforehand, which is good. And it's funny that they did that because it's pretty obvious which ones are like kind of throwaway games and which ones are legit games. Um, I'm trying to think. Matt, do you have any questions? I know I've asked a bunch, but do you have any questions that you want to ask or any just
Yeah,
comments?
yeah. One for like both of you guys to consider is, we've seen hockey really took a big jump with the Olympics this year, but like the four nations last year obviously gave us some great just
Yep.
sports watching. Obviously, the basketball is good during the Olympics. Baseball's coming back in 2028 for the Olympics. They haven't said whether MLB players can be in that or not, but like I don't know, what are your guys' thoughts? Like, should MLB players be allowed to play in that for the Olympics? And it's like, could they just like make, maybe like an extended all-star break,
Yeah.
kind of like what hockey does for these? Like, I think it's a way to make the all-star break, which baseball already has by far the best one, I would say.
Hmm.
People actually care and like
Yep.
would watch comparatively. But do you just throw that away for the Olympics? Like, what do you do? Like, do you still do that for players that aren't going to be in the Olympics? Like, do you, I guess, like, one, do you think MLB players will be allowed? And two, like, how would you kind of format it, assuming you could line it up maybe with the All-Star break and extend it a little?
I mean, from what I've heard, it really does sound like the players want to go, and that's priority number one. If there's player interest, which in my head shouldn't be too hard to get, uh, it's there. You
Yep.
know, the CBA expires after this year, so that's a whole other mess. But hopefully, out of that, we get something that makes international play a little easier. Because as much as I love the WBC starting before the regular season, it's a lot of fun. It gasses me up to watch some baseball all the way through the summer. It's not optimal for the players.
No.
If we lived in a world where there was an international break around July, around that All Star period, maybe a little less games in the MLB season, but if you had an international break that allows for consistent international play for the top players and top nations, that could drive baseball through the roof. Not just for sports fans, not just for baseball fans, just for the casual fan, like how hockey just had its moment in the Olympics.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. I think I was just making sure the Olympics are in Los Angeles in 2028, which would make it that much more feasible. You don't have to send the players across the or over whatever to a different country or continent. I think it is interesting because obviously not everyone's going to be involved in the Olympics. So for the players who aren't involved, it takes them kind of out of the rhythm of the season. But I think also there's a benefit to that as well, where you're not playing. Like you just kind of get to reset, have yourself a break. It won't be good for guys who are on fire and have multi-game hitting streaks at that point. But for guys who are maybe slumping, this is a great way to reset and spend time with family, go out and on a trip somewhere. Um, but yeah, I don't know how the MLB would go about that. I think it's interesting because I feel like baseball is probably, I mean, all sports, but baseball really tries to get as much out of every game that they can in terms of profit. And so for them to kind of turn away a profitable weekend, and probably would they at that point then stay with 162,
I don't think so. I think
right?
you'd see something like 152, 154. With the Olympics, we'll keep using the Olympics as the example. This Olympic tournament should be pretty short. This is not the World Baseball Classic is already pretty short. This is going to
Right.
be this would be shorter than that. This is going to be a couple of games and a quick medal round.
Yeah, you could probably get it through in a week if
Hmm.
you're playing almost every day. There's games.
Yeah.
I mean,
How many?
I don't think baseball would allow 162 to change, which will be a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't think the players honestly would want to let it go just for guys chasing single season records, things like
Right.
that. They're gonna want all of those
Hmm.
at bats, all those games. So
Yeah.
it really just becomes tough. You're extending the season more, starting it a week earlier, ending a week later, which could be a problem.
Yeah.
You have a Northeast team in the World Series. You know, you're gonna be playing in the middle of November.
Right. Yeah.
And it
That's
just also at that
a
point
lot of
becomes
different.
crazy for players report to spring training right after the Super Bowl in
Sure.
February, and then you could be going all the way to November. Like these guys do also need some rest at some point.
Yeah.
They get 3 months off.
Hmm. A lot of different impacts. Obviously, it'd be great to see them play, and I think they're interested in playing. The logistics are, it seems like a mess for them to figure it out. But hey, I'm not the one that needs to figure it out. So I'm sure, people are getting paid enough money to figure that out.
Who knows if the MLB will even be going on in 2028? Maybe it'll just be as easy as just going
Oh,
to the
geez.
Olympics.
Oh boy. 27's already a problem. You're telling me we're gonna do two seasons of this?
You never
Oh
know.
no. Oh no.
Yeah, it's possible. That's a good point. And that was, yeah, definitely a thinker. I'm still trying to figure out. I'm not sure.
I mean,
Obviously, it'd be great. I just don't know how feasible.
I mean,
Olympic.
all I know is that baseball is the only sport that has this problem. You got basketball at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Soccer is what it is. Soccer doesn't need any help. They
No.
got plenty of international breaks. They get all the international play in the world.
Yep.
Hockey, we just saw, had a perfect international break, and everything good for hockey, everything that could go well for hockey happened, especially for American hockey. But baseball is the only sport where we have an issue with this.
Yeah, I mean,
Something has to give.
the numbers would go crazy if they can make it work, especially if you get like USA Japan is probably the best outcome.
Yeah.
And if you just get that in a gold medal game, I mean, the hockey game did 27 million people, like max viewers, which was a record for something starting that early. It's
Yep.
like in LA, you're gonna have all like the Japan fans that are living on the West Coast. You'll have people in Japan, like
Oh my God, LA would be flooded.
If you put Samurai Japan in a gold medal game with a best on best play, everyone in that country will wake up to watch.
and
Yeah.
then
They will have a giant contingent at Dodger Stadium to go watch that game. That will be an all-time baseball game, a U.S. Japan gold medal game.
and it's like in the middle of the season, all the pitchers will be ramped up. You could have everyone
Yeah.
playing. There's no like, oh, you know, I gotta just get in some work or whatever. Like guys could throw a complete game. Like you maybe see a no hitter or something
Yeah.
crazy. You're not
Yeah,
going
you're
to
not
see
going to
that
see
in the
that. That's
WBC.
true. That's a
No,
great point.
I don't know. It could really take international baseball. It has the groundwork is there. Does that mean something's going to happen? Like it can't be all college players. Like
Right.
there's gonna be minor leaguers that go play.
Yeah.
It's how do you, I guess, get major leaguers in there? I don't know. It's tough. But I guess
Yeah.
that's what the WBC gives us to some extent.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, it's a week, right? So you should be able to. It does change a few things, as we had mentioned, and we listed off quite a few different things that probably short-sighted doesn't really matter, but in terms of a longer view, which is how baseball needs to be viewed, given that it's 162 games, definitely an impact there. So the alternative to that would be college guys playing, and then they would be playing against overseas professionals.
Yeah, you
Probably.
got KBO, CPBL, MPB.
Interesting.
They all take breaks for the Olympics, and they get to send their guys out.
Huh. That is fascinating. Then you can have a miracle on dirt instead of
It would be a miracle on dirt. A bunch of non 40 man prospects and amateurs going out and play. It would be a story, and people would love that. But people want to see their stars. People want to see best
100%.
on best. We gotta get with the program here.
Yeah. Yeah, that was nice little think tank for us on the Go-To podcast. It's kind of what we provide. Um we don't have to not too many more questions. Obviously, this has been great so far in my opinion. Are there any other storylines that you want to talk about as we start wrapping up here?
Um, let's have a think. One of the best stories of last WBC was the Czech team going out winning a game and qualifying.
Yep.
They're gonna have a much tougher time this go around. There were 20 teams last time around. Czech was talent-wise probably 19. They just happened to be in the pool with number 20 in China, who is not here anymore. Thank goodness, by the way. Um, but now the question is, how will the Czechs play with their essentially entirely amateur side? You know, they have one game they could really target against Australia, and even that would be a huge upset.
Yep.
Australia made it to the quarterfinals last year. They barely lost to Cuba. They almost advanced out of that.
Yep. Yeah, Australia, I'm excited to see. And this is all kind of recency bias, given that, we've been previewing teams for, I think, 13 or so days now. And we started with Pool A and now we're in Pool C. So I most recently remember the Australia team. I think they're a great story. Canada, as I had mentioned, or as we had mentioned, is a great story. I think I'm personally biased as a with an Italian background that I think Team Italy can make some noise. Um, but the powerhouse is being able to watch the Dominican team, the United States, Japan. That'll be a ton of fun as well. And I'm honestly, I was looking at the schedule. Some of the game times, obviously, because it's in a different country and the time difference is obviously quite big. But the times for some of these games is quite funny, having them at 5 or 4 in
5
the
a.m. start.
yeah.
10 p.m. 10 p.m. start into 5 a.m. start the next day.
And some of these teams are doing the 5 and the 10 in the
Oh
same
yeah.
day, which is hilarious. So yeah, that'll be interesting to kind of see. I don't think it'll have much of an impact, but to that point, how long? I mean, there's players that are playing in the WBC that are still here. They're in the United States. How long will that adjustment period take for them to get adjusted, or do they even adjust at all? Because after they're done with the WBC, they've got to go back and get ready for the regular season to start.
Well, I'm trying to think now of guys that have left for camp. The camps that are going on right now, WBC wise, are mostly the Asian teams. I know that the Netherlands have already started, um, and a lot of the Japanese MLB guys have already gone off
Okay.
to Samurai Japan camp. I know Yoshida off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure is not with the Red Sox right now. He's over. He's over with his national side. Otani will be following suit pretty soon. But most of these guys, they've done it before. They've gone and played. Uh, they've gone and played for their country. And again, there's only one pool that's being played outside of the Americas,
Right.
with that Tokyo pool. So so many of those guys are have done that before, and that's obviously a big adjustment still. But I don't think it'll be too impactful going into the season and going into the WBC, going into the MLB season at the end of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would agree. Very nice. All right, cool. Do we have any other WBC topics that we want to finish up here as we're wrapping up? Got
I got
everything.
nothing else for me personally.
This was awesome.
Yeah, we were
Chris,
we were pretty comprehensive today.
I think so. That's kind of what we try to do, make sure everyone gets all the information they need in a timely fashion. So, again, thank you for all the work that you've been doing so far with the WBC team previews. Obviously, you are very wide. You have a wide range of different topics that you can cover, but most of your time has been invested into doing the WBC stuff so far. So when you are able to branch out into other stuff, that'll be great. But you've been doing a wonderful job with the WBC previews so far. I think this only adds to that. Obviously, your wealth of knowledge was showcased, and yeah, we're excited to continue to see what it is that you're doing. If you want, you can talk about any personal stuff that maybe you want to do with Go-To Sports or even at Syracuse, like what it is that you're kind of looking to do going forward. You can absolutely do that if you'd like.
It's all right. Right now we're on camera, we're talking. That's what I want to be out there doing. Going into the broadcast digital journalism program up at Syracuse should be a ton of fun. Should be really rewarding. Plenty of work, but again, really rewarding. And here at Go-To, looking forward to keeping up with the baseball. And there's going to be so much more sport going on in the summer. So
Yep.
Stanley Cup,
Mhm.
it all comes up quick. So there's always something going on. There's always something new. And Go-To's where you want to be. You got everything.
Absolutely. Well said, Chris. Thank you. That is a great way to close out this episode of the Go-To podcast with Aidan, Matt, Chris. We talked about the WBC. Hope you guys got everything that you needed. Guys and girls got everything that you needed to prepare for this WBC. It's going to be fun. Watch out for Canada, Taiwan. Obviously, be with your eyes glued to the television when you're watching the United States, Japan, Dominican Republic, and yeah, just enjoy baseball because it's back. It's back. Spring training's happening. WBC, the best of the best, and will we see MLB pros in the 2028 Olympics? We don't know, but we'll find out. And in 2 years, we'll be back and talking about whether or not they're playing. All right? Very good. Appreciate it. This has been the Go-To Podcast.